Hi, and welcome to Straight to the Points. I'm your host, Courtney. I'm here to help you take your family on amazing vacations for almost free with the help of credit card points and miles. I'm a mom and primary care physician, and I believe that travel is an important way to restore, connect, and celebrate. This podcast is designed for busy people who want to learn how to take unforgettable trips with minimal out-of-pocket cost and don't want to devote a ton of time to figuring out the world of points and miles. I'll get you your first trip booked in just a few months. Let's get straight to the points. Hi, and welcome to Straight to the Points. Today I'll be delving into the recent changes to the World of Hyatt program. Before I go into the specifics of the changes, I first want to cover why the World of Hyatt program is amazing and what makes these changes such a big deal in the world of points and miles. If you're newer to this hobby, you might not know a ton about the Hyatt program, how it works, and why people in points and miles generally love it. And understanding that is key to understanding why these changes are such a big deal. The World of Hyatt did recently announce some pretty brutal changes to their program. I'm a glass half full kind of person in general, but there's not much of an upside to these changes. They're overall not good for people that use Hyatt in the world of points and miles. For people who use points and miles to travel, Hyatt has basically been the hands down best way to get awesome deals consistently without much effort, which is why I love Hyatt so much and why people in points and miles love Hyatt so much. There are other perks to Hyatt though. The first is that they have really consistent quality throughout their brand. And so you can generally know exactly what to expect when you're booking a Hyatt. If you're booking a Hyatt House or Hyatt Place, which is their lower tier, you know in general you're going to get a room that sleeps 5. Generally 2 double beds and then a pull-out sofa bed. You know that it's going to be clean and you'll get good service and everything will in general be in good shape and updated. You just know it's consistent good quality without being luxurious. The more mid-range properties like Hyatt Regency, those in general are more elevated, luxurious. The resorts tend to have lots of family-friendly activities and they are great for vacations when you're more spending a lot of time at the resort itself. And then there's higher end properties like the Park Hyatt, and those are very luxurious properties. And the nice thing about Hyatt is that you know you're getting consistent good quality when you book. You know sort of exactly what to expect when you book a Park Hyatt, even if you haven't been there before. You know what sort of degree of service and luxury that you're going to expect. Brand consistency is really nice. The other perk of the Hyatt program when booking on points is that you never have to pay taxes and fees on award bookings. So unlike many other programs, when you book a Hyatt stay on points, you don't have to pay any cash at all. Whereas with other programs, you are often paying a fee for the taxes and fees associated with the booking. Paying truly $0 is really nice. Hyatt also has great room options for families. Hyatt Place and Hyatt House brand is great for families. They in general will have 2 queen beds and then a double pull-out couch, so you can fit a bigger family without having to book 2 rooms. They also have suites that you can book outright with points. So rather than some other programs where you might book a regular room and then have to hope for an option to upgrade, you can just book a suite outright using more points for Hyatt. And the prices with points are very reasonable when you're booking suites. You also have the option of what's called family plan booking, which is where if you get 1 room, you can get a second room for half the cash price. And so if you're getting multiple rooms, that can be really good savings. This isn't available at every Hyatt property, but when it is available, it can be really valuable. And this works even if you do a points booking. So if you book 1 room with points, you can then book a second room at half the cash rate, which is really nice. Hyatt also has really great customer service. If you book with them, you just know that someone's going to be able to help you with any issues that you might have with your reservation or during your stay. Just in general, great service consistently at all Hyatts. They also have tons of free activities and things for kids and families that are included in your stay at the resort properties, which is so nice. And Hyatt also really rewards loyalty. They have lots of ways where you are rewarded for staying consistently with Hyatt. There's what's called the Brand Explorer, which people call Hyatt Bingo in the points and miles world, where if you stay at 5 different Hyatt brands, you earn a free night stay. And you can do that again and again. And they have many, many different brands of Hyatts. So as you stay at 5 new brands, you earn a free night. And that's not yearly. It rolls over into the next year. They've also got great milestone awards. So after you stay a certain number of nights within a year, you can get awards like suite upgrades or extra points. They've got perks for even the lower level of status. So without having the highest level of status, which is globalist, lower level of status, you can get things like free bottled water and late checkout. The bottled water doesn't sound like a lot, but is really nice. You can get as much bottled water as you want, I found. So when we're staying at a Hyatt and we're, say, about to head out into a city and explore, we get a bottle of water for everybody before jumping into the rental car. And just doing that several times through your stay can save a ton of money. The highest level of status has tons of perks, which includes free breakfast or club access for up to 2 adults and 2 children, free parking on award stays, and then late checkout at 4 p.m., as well as upgrades. So with that highest level of status, you really are given a lot of benefits for reaching that. You can earn status by either staying in the hotels, by spending on a Hyatt credit card. The best thing about Hyatt, though, is incredible value every time. This is really what makes Hyatt the best in terms of the points and miles world. Consistently throughout all Hyatt brands, you know when you're booking a Hyatt that you're getting a good points deal. The points prices are just consistently great, and you already know you're getting consistent quality. So it's just super simple to know if you're going somewhere and there's a Hyatt available. I don't even think about it. I always look for a Hyatt first, and if it's there, I book it because I know I'm getting a good quality and I know I'm getting a good deal. It's also predictable. Hyatt is the only remaining hotel program that really has truly an award chart so that you know exactly what you'll pay or very close to what you'll pay for a points stay. And that doesn't have variability. So for example, there's categories of hotels. A category 1 is the lowest category. Category 8 is the highest category. And you know how much a hotel night will cost in points based on the category. So you can plan ahead. If you're thinking spring break in a year at a Hyatt property, you can look at how much a night typically costs. There's a little variability with off-peak, normal, and then peak pricing, but it only varies by a few thousand points per night. So in general, you can plan way ahead, know how many points you'll need for a booking, save, and plan. You also can look at a calendar. And so if you know what week you're looking at, you can see exactly which nights are peak and off peak. And so you know exactly how many points you need to make a given booking. That is really different from other hotel programs with points bookings. Other programs have what's called dynamic pricing, which means the points prices are tied to the cash rates. And as you know, cash rates for hotels can vary wildly, and it will change depending on demand. So for example, a spring break stay at Hilton might be double the points price as it usually is, or even more than that. And with Hyatt, points prices are published ahead. For things like concerts, Hyatts are great because if you're looking at a Marriott or Hilton or other brand, they're going to jack up the points price on the night of a big concert because the rooms are in higher demand and the cash price is higher. Whereas with a Hyatt, you're getting that same great rate regardless of what the demand is. So unfortunately, that's what really makes Hyatt the best, and that's what's changing, which is really a bummer. Basically, what happened with these changes that they just announced with the Hyatt brand is that they are still maintaining an award chart, technically, but the way they did it, there's going to be pretty huge variability in pricing, and it's going to be more mediated by demand. So starting in May 2026, instead of having 3 tiers of pricing, the off-peak, standard, and peak rates like they do now, where it varies by a few thousand points between those, there's now going to be 5 levels of pricing for each category of hotel. So now there's still the category 1 through 8. 1 is the cheapest, 8 is the most expensive. But within a given category, there's 5 different tiers of pricing that you may pay depending on the demand for the hotel at that time. And those are called lowest, low, moderate, upper, and top. And there's much bigger spreads between the points prices. So at the low end, the pricing's not that bad, but then it goes up significantly higher within a tier. And the biggest thing is there's really no promise from Hyatt as to what percentage of the time these hotels will be priced at different categories. So there's absolutely no guarantee that hotels will be priced within that moderate range pricing. There's nothing that says that they can't price certain hotels at that top pricing all the time. And so it's hard to be optimistic about prices staying consistently low. It really looks like, in general, stays are just going to be more expensive pretty much across the board. And there are cases where they're going to be much more expensive than before. Let's look at a couple of examples of some Hyatt properties and how the pricing will change to illustrate what these changes might look like in May. Hyatt-centric Times Square is a booking that I made earlier this year, and we're going in December, which is a really high demand time to go to New York City. We're planning to see the Rockettes, and that's not unique. Lots of people want to do that in December. New York is supposedly magical in December, and so many families have that same idea. And so Hyatt is a great way to save a ton when booking during a high demand time at a property. So Hyatt-centric Times Square, the cash pricing super high during weekends all through December. But because of the award chart that Hyatt has, the prices aren't that jacked up during those high demand times. So the current pricing, this hotel is a category 6, which means it is between 21,000 and 29,000 points a night. That's varying between the off-peak times and the peak times. And when we booked in December, a weekend, the nights are at their peak pricing. So it's 29,000 points a night, which is how I booked the room. But compared to the cash price, it's an incredible deal because cash prices for the hotels are super high during basically all December weekends. And if I had booked through, say, Hilton or IHG, I would have paid much more in points than I did when I snagged this. Now with the new pricing, the pricing will range instead of from 21 to 29,000, it's going to be 20,000 at the lowest, but then 40,000 for the top. And again, no guarantee about how much time the property will spend at the lower end or mid-range pricing. This very well could be 40,000 points a night during all of December and maybe a lot of the summer. During spring break, I pretty much guarantee that all these properties are going to be priced at the higher range during that time. So for those sort of mid-range Hyatts, like the category 5 and 6, that's kind of the pricing difference that we're seeing. It's easily going to be more than 10,000 points more per night, which adds up if you're doing a week-long stay. Where this really is going to be making a huge difference in pricing, though, is at the high-end properties, like Park Hyatts. For example, Park Hyatt New York, currently 35 to 45,000 points a night, depending on whether it's the off-peak, regular rate, or peak rates. Under the new award chart, the pricing will be 35,000 at the low end, which is the same as it is currently, but the top tier pricing is going to be 75,000 points a night. Going from 45,000 to 75,000 points a night is wild. That is a huge, huge price difference. And it could be priced at that higher end, 75,000, the vast majority of the time. We don't know. A lot of those higher end properties, the Park Hyatts in different cities, they are in really high demand. And so they very well may be priced at that top tier level more frequently than not, which is really a bummer. And so for many families or people, myself included, I just cannot imagine paying 75,000 points a night to stay even in a really aspirational level, luxurious hotel. It really is going to change the calculation of how I decide where to go when I'm looking at property. Right now, if I have a city in mind, I'm pretty much just looking at the Hyatt options and picking one. And then if there's not a Hyatt, I go and look at other options. But now for those higher end properties, definitely it's going to be worth looking at other programs. Whereas now I'd argue that you can sort of ignore the other programs if there's a Hyatt because you know the Hyatt's going to be good quality and you know the pricing is overall going to be good. This totally changes that. For other aspirational type properties, including the Miraval properties, which are incredible all-inclusive properties that are located in Austin, in Arizona, and in the Berkshires in Massachusetts, the prices for those are going to change significantly as well because these are, again, higher end properties, and those are what are most impacted by these changes. The Miraval properties are sort of wellness properties. It's almost like summer camp for adults is kind of how I view it. You go and included in your stay is all of your food, of course, but then also lots of activities. So things like cooking classes, fitness classes, working with horses, going on guided hikes, just a huge brochure of different classes that you can take. And many of them are included within that rate that you book at. And then there are also lots of things that you can do paid with cash as well. And you do get a credit towards some of those paid activities, even when you book on points, which is really incredible. Currently, for single occupancy rooms, the Miraval properties range between 40 and 50,000 points a night, which is a lot of points, but for having it be all-inclusive and having all of your activities or many of your activities and all of your food included within the points price, it's really a great deal. And compared to the cash prices, which are extremely high, they're a great deal. With a new award chart, the single occupancy rooms will start at 40,000 as they do now, but will go up to 75,000 during the higher demand times. And again, no guarantee about how much time they will be at the mid-range or lower end range and how much time will be at that highest tier, 75,000. When Hyatt announced these changes, that in May, these price changes take effect, the first thing I did is said to myself, wow, I really should think about booking a Miraval stay before these changes take effect. I've always wanted to go to one of these properties, and it's something I've known that I'll make happen with my points at some point. A couple days after Hyatt announced these changes, I went for it. I booked myself a Miraval stay at the Miraval Berkshires, which I will, of course, be talking about in the podcast in the future once I complete the stay. I really wanted to lock in that pricing at 50,000 points a night instead of having to pay potentially 75,000 points a night, which is a huge difference in price. I'm going to the Miraval Berkshires in the fall. And right now, basically all fall weekends, which is, great time to be in the Berkshires up in the Northeast. The fall is in general beautiful. All of those weekends through September, October, November, essentially were peak pricing currently. So 50,000 points a night. And so I would imagine once they make the change, those fall weekends probably will be in the higher tier, so around 75,000 points a night, which is a huge increase in price. So I did snag that, and I already had several Hyatt stays for the year coming up. I tend to book in advance, so I didn't book anything else just based on this change being announced, but I did start to think seriously, should I book something for spring break next year, which is now, about a year out. And I haven't done that yet, but that's something that I'm thinking about potentially doing before the changes take effect in May. We don't have a date for this yet. We just know that the price change is occurring in May at some point. These changes to the Hyatt program weren't all bad news, technically. They did throw in a couple of nice little nuggets for us, but unfortunately, the price increases really outweigh any good news with these changes to the World of Hyatt program. But some of the positive things that we will see, we will now be able to combine points electronically. Right now, you can gift Hyatt points to anyone, but it's a very archaic process that actually involves printing a form and then submitting it. With these changes, they did announce that this will be an electronic process now, which is nice, but honestly, it's ridiculous that it wasn't that way anyway, so it's not that positive of a change, but it will be a little bit more convenient to combine points. They also are giving early access to award bookings by 1 month for people with certain levels of status within the Hyatt program, as well as people that hold Hyatt credit cards. This is nice, I guess, to be able to book a month early and snag some of the more in-demand properties before everybody has access. But honestly, I don't think this is going to translate to a huge difference in award availability, because I think people that are in general looking at booking Hyatts 12 or 13 months out are probably already people that are loyal to Hyatt, booking on points likely, and probably have status or hold a Hyatt credit card already. So I think the pool of people that are doing these early bookings are going to be essentially the same cohort of people that are booking about a year out now. So I don't think that's going to translate into much better availability for these higher demand properties. We do also know that, well, we don't know. We think that Hyatt is planning on releasing a new credit card this year. And I am excited to see what that offers, and hopefully maybe a little bit of a juicier sign-on bonus would be nice to kind of offset some of the price increases. So I am excited to see what the new Hyatt card entails, and hopefully that will be some positive things that are available. All in all, really not exciting changes. They did technically keep the award chart, which is good, I guess. But while it's technically an award chart, the amount of variability between the low end and the high end pricing at each property is just huge. In many cases, 67% price increases from the low end to the high end. And so it's barely an award chart. They kind of switched to dynamic pricing, but crunched it into a award chart so that they could say, look, we still have an award chart. At the end of the day, I don't know how much this will change my loyalty to Hyatt. I think we have to wait and see. Right now, like I said, I'm pretty much automatically booking a Hyatt when a Hyatt is available. Now, I do think that I will look at other options to make sure that I'm still getting the best deal from Hyatt. So if I'm going to a city and there are Hyatts available, I'm not going to just start and end my search with Hyatt anymore. I'll look at other options. Hyatt does still offer all those other things I mentioned, lots of perks for being loyal, great brand consistency, great customer service. And so I will absolutely still be staying at Hyatt properties, no question. It's just going to be less of an automatic yes to Hyatt every time. I do think we also have to wait and see how the prices actually look on the calendars and how much time these properties are spending at the top tier versus the mid-range. If the properties are mostly priced in the mid-range with some fluctuations up to the high end and some fluctuations to the low end, the changes aren't going to be that painful. But if the properties are priced at those high-end levels the majority of the time, that's going to really hurt, especially with regards to those higher-end properties. For families that stay in the category 1 through 4 properties, this is going to have less of an impact. The price variation is there, but it's not as extreme. And so I believe that those lower end properties will still continue to be great value. And so for trips where the hotel isn't the destination, not really a resort type stay, for example, if we're staying in a city and we're planning on spending most of the time outside of the hotel, I will definitely look for Hyatt houses and Hyatt places for stays like that. But I'll look at other options too. Still to come are Hyatt category changes as well. This is something that happens yearly, and so we can expect this to happen in the next couple of months, where every year they announce that certain hotels are either moved up or down in category, and this is based on demand. So some hotels that are consistently higher demand will move up in category and so cost more to book. And occasionally they will also move properties down in category, but mostly it's properties moving up. And so we still have that to come as well, which will also potentially prompt people to want to book those hotels before the category changes occur once they're announced. So stay tuned for those. They did, with this recent announcement, move a few hotels into new categories effective immediately, which really stinks for people that were looking at booking those properties. They just, without warning, changed those in tier right away. Overall, pretty brutal changes to the World of Hyatt program, but I can honestly say that I do still think that there will be value to be had within the Hyatt program. It's just going to be less simple because it's not going to be a clear Hyatt is pretty much always the best choice when available for me, which stinks because I love simplicity. I do also think that to really know the full extent of how these changes are going to impact the World of Hyatt program, we're going to have to wait a year. That's because I have a feeling that when they release the award pricing calendars in May, that it might not initially be that bad. They might have properties that are higher end that are not spending as much time in the peak pricing range. And people might say, oh, okay, these changes don't look terrible. But then I think in a year, when they change again, when they do the category changes, I think more hotels will be moved into those higher tier categories. And I think once the dust kind of all settles on this, they'll sort of quietly shift properties to spending a higher percentage of the time at the higher pricing tiers. We'll see, but that's kind of what I'm expecting. All in all, though, I still love Hyatt. Hopefully, I can stand by that statement once these changes take effect. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. Happy booking! Thank you for listening to Straight to the Points. If you're looking for more tips and tricks or travel inspiration, you can find me on Instagram at straighttothepoints.podcast. If you have any questions about earning or using your points, send me an email. I might include your question on a future episode. You can reach me at straighttothepoints.podcast@gmail.com. Please also send me your points success stories. I would love to hear from you. If you are thinking about applying for a points earning credit card, I would appreciate you using my referral links to sign up. Head to straighttothepointspodcast.com and click on card referral links. If you are getting value from this podcast, I would be so happy if you would leave me a 5-star review and a comment wherever you listen. If you want to further support the podcast, click on support on the website main menu, where there is a link to my Buy Me a Coffee account, where you can leave me a tip to help support the podcast. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time on Straight to the Points.